The world is not divided by right and wrong. That distinction is for children. The real division is quieter, more brutal. There are players and there are pawns. No announcement is made, no rule book is handed out. You simply feel it. You enter rooms where decisions are made and you are not consulted. You speak, but the air doesn't change. You contribute, but nothing shifts in your favor. You've done everything they told you to do, worked harder, spoken honestly, waited patiently, and still, you remain unseen, not because you lack value, but because value in this world is not self-declared, it is perceived. You've watched less capable people rise faster. You've seen louder voices override better ideas. You've felt the quiet humiliation of being useful, but never powerful. That feeling isn't accidental, it's structural. Here is the truth. Society avoids because it's uncomfortable. Power does not reward effort. It does not care about fairness. It does not recognize good intentions. Power responds only to understanding. Understanding of human nature. Understanding of fear, ego, status, and leverage. Understanding of how perception shapes reality. Those who understand this move pieces. Those who don't become pieces. And the most dangerous part? No one tells you when you've been categorized. You are simply placed. Silently, efficiently. But once you see the pattern, it can't be unseen. Once the fog lifts, the room looks different. The smiles feel strategic. The silence feels loaded. If you've felt this tension but never had the language for it, if you've sensed there was another game being played behind the visible one, stay with me. Because this isn't motivation, it's orientation. And orientation determines whether you are moved or whether you learn to move others. You were taught a simple equation: work hard, be talented, be kind, and you'll be rewarded. That belief is comforting. It gives effort meaning. It makes waiting feel noble. But in the real world, it quietly fails you. You watch people with less skill gain more influence. You see mediocrity promoted while competence is sidelined. You notice how being agreeable earns appreciation, but never authority. That isn't bad luck. It's design. Effort without leverage is invisible. Talent without positioning is ignored. Kindness without boundaries is exploited. You are not losing because you are incapable. You are losing because the game you are playing is not the one that decides outcomes. Fairness is a story told to keep the system calm. Merit is celebrated only after power has already chosen its winners. Behind every promotion, every alliance, every closed-door decision, there is a quieter process at work. Who is useful? Who is predictable? Who can be controlled? Those answers matter more than effort ever will. This is why you feel disposable, why loyalty doesn't protect you, why explaining yourself never seems to change anything. You are playing openly in a game built on concealment. You are investing emotionally in a system that values leverage. You are offering sincerity to people who trade in perception. And every time you defend yourself, justify your actions, or wait to be recognized, you reinforce the same role, the role of the pawn. Pawns move forward honestly. They obey the rules. They believe progress is linear. But pawns don't decide the board. They are positioned on it. And until you understand that the rules you were given were incomplete, you will continue to feel overlooked. Not because you lack worth, but because you lack strategy. This is not an attack on your character. It's a correction of your orientation. Because the problem was never your effort. It was the game you were unknowingly playing. Machiavelli was never interested in comforting people. He was interested in accuracy. 500 years ago, he looked at power without morality, without hope, without illusion, and wrote down what he saw. Not what should happen, what does. That is why his work survived. He understood something most people still resist. Human beings are not guided by ideals. They are guided by incentives. Self-interest comes first. Fear follows closely behind. Then ego. Then status. Everything else is decoration. People do not move toward what is right. They move toward what protects them, elevates them, or validates them. This is not evil. It is human. The mistake is pretending otherwise. When you ignore this, you walk into rooms unarmed. You expect gratitude where leverage is required. You expect fairness where hierarchy governs behavior. That is how pawns think. Machiavelli did not create power dynamics. He exposed them. He saw that authority is maintained through perception, that loyalty is conditional, that admiration fades faster than fear or necessity, and most importantly, that power does not respect innocence. It exploits it. Ignorance keeps you reactive. It makes you emotional. It traps you in explanations and justifications. Understanding does the opposite. It makes you observant. It slows your reactions. It allows you to predict behavior instead of being surprised by it. This is the shift from pawn to player. A pawn believes people act according to stated values. A strategist watches how they behave under pressure. A pawn listens to words. A strategist listens to incentives. Once you accept this framework, the world sharpens. Conversations feel different. Silence feels heavier. Motives become legible. You stop asking why people are unfair. You start asking what they are protecting. That question alone puts you closer to power than effort ever could. Because power is not impressed by morality, it is impressed by clarity. What you believe about success has been shaped for compliance, not dominance. You were taught that clarity earns trust, that honesty builds authority, that consistency is rewarded. Those beliefs make you predictable, and predictability is easy to manage. Honesty without leverage is not virtue, it is exposure. Effort without direction is not discipline, it is waste. Power does not evaluate your intentions. It evaluates your position. It asks different questions than you do. Not, is this person sincere, but is this person useful? Not, do I like them, but what happens if they leave? Not, are they good, but do they matter? This is where most people fail. They show up open. They explain themselves fully. They volunteer their motives and expect that transparency to be reciprocated. It never is. Because power operates like a game of chess, not a confession booth. Every piece has a function, every move has a consequence, and the board does not reward emotion, it rewards foresight. You've been taught to play honestly, others learn to play strategically. They don't reveal their whole hand, they don't rush to be understood. They let ambiguity work in their favor, not because they are dishonest, but because they understand perception is reality. Here is the question that dismantles the old belief system. If sincerity were enough, why are the most sincere people always waiting? Waiting to be recognized, waiting to be chosen, waiting to be rewarded. Meanwhile, those who control access, frame narratives, and create dependence move freely. This is the shift you must make. From expressing yourself to positioning yourself, from proving your worth to becoming unavoidable, from playing to be liked to playing to be necessary. Once you accept that success is not a moral outcome but a strategic one, you stop asking for permission, and you start asking a better question. Where do I place myself so the game changes without me speaking at all? That question marks the end of naivety and the beginning of power. Power does not trust transparency, it exploits it. The moment you reveal everything, your intentions, your plans, your emotions, you become legible. And what can be read can be managed. Mystery is not deception, it is control of information. Psychologically, the human mind fears what it cannot categorize. When people cannot fully understand you, they begin to speculate. They fill the gaps themselves. And whatever they imagine feels more real to them than anything you could explain. Most people make the same mistake. They over-clarify, they justify, they defend. They believe being understood will protect them. It does the opposite. Explaining yourself places you in a lower position. It signals that you are seeking approval, permission, or validation. It invites judgment, and judgment always flows downward. The strategic alternative is restraint. You speak less than expected. You answer without revealing motive. You allow ambiguity to sit in the room. Ambiguity creates gravity. People lean in. They watch more closely. They project their own assumptions onto you. In chess, the most dangerous piece is not the one already attacking. It's the one whose direction is still unclear. When your full hand is hidden, others must move cautiously. They hesitate. They account for possibilities that may not even exist. That hesitation is leverage. Power does not belong to the loudest or the clearest. It belongs to the one who understands that what is withheld often carries more weight than what is said. Never reveal your full hand. Let the board work for you. Power is rarely decided by strength. It is decided by context. Whoever defines what the situation means controls how everyone inside it behaves. Most people never realize this. They argue facts, they defend intentions, they react to accusations. All of that happens inside a frame someone else built. And once you accept another person's frame, you've already conceded authority. The psychological mistake is emotional engagement. When you react, you validate the premise of the attack. You confirm that the rules being used against you are legitimate. That is how power traps people. The strategic alternative is reframing without resistance. You don't argue the accusation. You change the lens through which it's viewed. You shift the conversation from what happened to why it matters, from justification to positioning. This disorients people because the human mind seeks stability. When the frame shifts, they lose footing, they hesitate, they reassess. In warfare, generals don't rush to defend ground that has no strategic value. They retreat, reposition, and force the enemy to fight on unfamiliar terrain. The same rule applies socially and psychologically. You never win by proving you're right inside a losing frame. You win by refusing to play there at all. Control the frame, and outcomes follow naturally. Lose the frame, and no amount of explanation will save you. Power doesn't shout, it redefines. Silence is not emptiness, it is pressure. Most people are terrified of it. When words stop, the mind begins to panic. It searches for meaning, for reassurance, for control, and in that search, people reveal far more than they intend. Silence destabilizes predictable minds because it removes feedback. No approval, no rejection, no signal, just space. And space forces projection. The common mistake is filling that space, explaining, clarifying, over-talking to appear cooperative or likable. That instinct is weakness disguised as politeness. When you rush to speak, you surrender control of tempo. You confirm emotional dependency. You show that discomfort moves you. The strategic alternative is restraint. You pause longer than expected. You respond slower than required. You allow uncertainty to sit in the room without resolving it. This creates asymmetry. While others are exposed by their need to fill silence, you remain unreadable. And unreadable people are dangerous, not because they threaten, but because they cannot be anticipated. In negotiations, silence forces concessions. In conflict, it drains momentum. In hierarchy, it signals self-sufficiency. Silence communicates, I do not need to rush, I am not chasing resolution. That message is felt instinctively. Silence is not passive. It is an active withdrawal of reassurance, and the one who controls reassurance controls the emotional balance of the room. Speak when it advances position. Remain silent when it shifts pressure outward, because silence is not absence of power, it is power held in reserve. Availability is a signal, and most people signal weakness without realizing it. When you are always reachable, always agreeable, always present, you remove friction. That feels generous, but psychologically, it collapses your value. Scarcity creates gravity. Access creates hierarchy. People respect what requires effort to reach. They protect what feels limited. And they dismiss what is endlessly available. The common mistake is mistaking proximity for importance, answering instantly, showing up whenever asked, making yourself easy to reach in the hope of being remembered. That does the opposite. Constant availability communicates that your time has low cost. And if your time has low cost, you do too. The strategic alternative is controlled distance. You respond deliberately, not reflexively. You appear fully present when you are there and unmistakably absent when you're not. You do not orbit anyone's schedule. This creates psychological imbalance. People begin to adjust to you. They become aware of gaps. They wonder what occupies your attention. That curiosity turns into respect. In power dynamics, closeness is not warmth. It is currency. Spend it slowly, never all at once. Those who control access control tempo. Those who control tempo control outcomes. Selective availability communicates a simple truth without words. My time is allocated, not offered. And that signal, quiet, consistent, undeniable, is what elevates you from useful to essential. Scarcity is not cruelty, it is structure, and structure is the foundation of power. People do not seek truth, they seek confirmation. Confirmation that they are intelligent, confirmation that they are important, confirmation that the story they tell themselves is correct. Truth threatens identity, and identity is what people defend most aggressively. The common mistake is believing correction earns respect. It doesn't. When you correct someone, especially someone with status, you attack their self-image. The mind doesn't process that as information. It processes it as danger. That's when resistance appears. Defensiveness, subtle hostility, quiet exclusion. The strategic alternative is mirroring. You reflect their worldview back to them, but refined, sharpened, elevated. You become the power is never symmetrical. The moment balance exists, influence dissolves. One side always needs more. Approval, security, validation, closure. And the side that needs less quietly takes control. Need creates urgency. Urgency creates mistakes. The one who feels less speaks slower, moves later, decides last. That delay is not hesitation, it is dominance. Information operates the same way. Whoever knows more doesn't argue. They wait. They let others expose priorities, fears, and limits, often without realizing it. Every word spoken unnecessarily is data surrendered. Every emotional reaction is a signal revealed. Emotion feels human. But in power dynamics, it is a liability, not because emotion is weakness, but because it is predictable. Predictability is the true vulnerability. When people can anticipate your reactions, they can shape your behavior without force. They provoke you, distract you, lead you into frames that benefit them. That is why the calmest person in the room always feels heavier. They are not calm because they are kind. They are calm because they are prepared with information, prepared with options, prepared to walk away. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence or intent. They fail because they are legible, their motives are obvious, their limits are visible, their reactions are rehearsed, and what can be read can be managed. Power belongs to those who remain opaque, who regulate emotion, who control tempo, not by force, by imbalance. Because in every room, influence flows toward the one who needs the least and reveals the least, while quietly seeing everything. Power obeys a rule that feels backward until you experience it. The more you chase it, the further it moves away. Neediness is not invisible. It leaks through tone, through timing, through the way you explain yourself a little too much, and power recoils from need. Not out of cruelty, but instinct. Need signals dependence. Dependence signals liability, and liability is never invited into the inner circle. This is why the paradox exists. To gain power, you must stop reaching for it. The moment your identity becomes tied to approval, you surrender leverage. Your decisions narrow, your silence becomes anxious, your presence becomes conditional. You start adapting instead of positioning. Detachment reverses this. Detachment does not mean apathy, it means internal sovereignty. It means your sense of worth is no longer negotiated externally. You are not scanning faces for permission. You are not waiting for validation before acting. You move from wanting to be chosen to being willing to leave. That single shift rewires every interaction. When you no longer need the outcome, your behavior slows, your voice steadies, your reactions soften, you stop broadcasting urgency. And urgency is the clearest signal of weakness. The person who can walk away changes the entire geometry of the room. They are not aggressive, they are not loud, they are not demanding, they are dangerous because they are optional, they negotiate differently, they listen differently, they are willing to let silence stretch past discomfort. Others feel this immediately, often without understanding why. This is the transformation, from seeker to strategist, from approval-driven to self-directed, from hoping to be included to deciding whether inclusion is even worth it. Power recognizes this shift instinctively, because power itself is lonely. It is surrounded by people who bend, adjust, flatter, and stay. When it encounters someone who stands still, someone whole, someone unneeding, it pauses. Not out of fear, out of respect. This is the final truth most never reach. Power does not chase hunger, it circles wholeness. And the moment you stop chasing it, it begins to take you seriously. This will sound cold. It is. Because reality is not warm, it is efficient. You can reject this knowledge and remain comfortable. You can call it manipulative and retreat into innocence. Many do. Innocence feels moral, but it offers no protection. The world is not governed by intentions. It is governed by leverage, perception, and restraint. These laws do not make you cruel, they make you aware, and awareness is dangerous to illusions. Once you see the mechanics behind power, you lose the luxury of pretending the game doesn't exist. You stop blaming unfairness, you stop waiting to be noticed, you stop explaining yourself to people who were never listening. There is no going back to sleep after this. You now have a choice: remain a spectator, reacting, justifying, hoping, or step into the role of strategist, observing, positioning, deciding. This channel is not here to motivate you. It is here to reprogram how you see the board. Subscribing is not support, it is a line in the sand. It marks the moment you stop consuming ideas passively and start sharpening perception deliberately. The moment you accept that power has rules, and you are finally ready to learn them. Not everyone should subscribe. Most shouldn't. But if you're done being managed by forces you don't understand, if you're ready to move quietly, think clearly, and act without permission, then you already know what to do. Welcome to the inner circle.